In this video, we're going to look at the top 5 most common questions that are asked in HireVue interviews, and I'm also going to give you some great tips on how to succeed in HireVue interviews. So I'm going to share with you in a second an equation that's a basic procedure for approaching HireVue, and it's simpler than you might think. People tend to get overly obsessed with the HireVue aspect and forget that someone from HR can actually watch it all back, and usually before they take someone through the next step, a human will actually watch it. So you've got to score highly and you've got to survive someone actually watching it. So don't try and game it. To be successful, it's really simple. You just have to give the right answer. And we're going to look at some strategies for working out what the right answer is. And then you have to demonstrate the right behaviors to help you score highly with the HireVue system. And if you can do these two things, you're going to be successful and you're going to score in the top few that is going to get you through to the next level. To be successful, you're going to have to be able to deconstruct the question along with what HireVue is actually doing. So there's 3 steps. The first thing is you're going to ask yourself, what would a successful candidate do? And so you have to put yourself in HR's shoes and think, how are they going to actually come up with a scoring system? So what are they looking for in a successful candidate? So you're looking from their perspective and thinking someone that gets the job is going to be like this, and this is what they are going to say. You're then going to think about what sort of behaviors are being tested. I'm going to give you some examples of how we can infer that. So for example, a question that's asking about someone not working well in a team, that's obviously going to be used to screen out people that are negative, judgmental, and critical of their employees and are going to be someone that you wouldn't want to work with. And then the last thing to do is to think about, does your answer match the company's values? So what are the company's values? And you can research those and tailor your answer to fit those values and make sure you include as keywords the company's values directly. So here's question 1. What is your greatest weakness? And this is a dangerous question and is often done extremely badly, right? To be successful, you have to start with a real weakness. They will not look favorably on you giving one of these fake weaknesses like claiming to be a perfectionist, now it gets in the way. That is showing a failure to be reflective. They want people who are reflective. They also want to hear that you're doing something about it. So you're saying it's a weakness, but then you're talking actively about how you're overcoming your weakness. And the number one most important thing, and it is obvious, but people do screw it up, is make sure that your weakness is not essential to the job. So it has to be something not too trivial that it's pointless, but not actually important to the job. And so to be successful on this question from a HireVue perspective, here's some tips. So the first tip is don't match with the job description. If you say a weakness that is something that is listed in the job description as something that is important, there is a really good clue for HireVue to pick up on and go, this isn't what we're looking for. The person's just said that their weakness is something that our client has said they want as a strength. So definitely avoid that. You're always wanting to give confident answers because confident answers show that you're prepared and that you're not struggling to think of a weakness. You don't want to talk about using and ah all the way and a lag. So when you're asked about your greatest weakness and then there's this long pause because you're really not sure what your weaknesses are, that doesn't look very good. So if you get those 3 elements in and follow my tips, you should score highly on this question. Question 2, tell me about a time you dealt with rejection. And so the way that I would propose answering this is with 3 steps. So you got to show some positivity. So when you're asked about rejection, you want to be positive. You want to come across in your body language that you are a positive person and you can bounce back from a rejection. You're going to talk about growth. So how did you turn that rejection into something positive? So you can say, I was rejected from this thing that I wanted to do. However, I persevered. And the next year, I was able to succeed in this thing that I was rejected at. And then you're showing some recovery. And this plays into the deconstructing that I was talking about earlier. So what undesirable characteristics might this question invoke? So you're thinking about how could HireVue use this for negative screening to lower your score? And so if you're talking about just failure and there's no growth, there's negativity, you're attacking the person that rejected you, you're saying that they're wrong and that they've missed out on a fantastic opportunity of hiring you or getting you on board, and that they've had immense damage done to their business by your absence, that is going to be immediately screened out. And that's why this question can be so powerful as a negative screening tool. And then you're also thinking, what are recruiters looking for in this answer? They're looking for people that, one, grow from rejection, that they're rejected from something but are ultimately successful. And then in the other aspect is that failure doesn't put a complete roadblock, and they're not negative, and they're not attacking anyone. And so if you do that, you're going to survive this question and hopefully float slightly higher in the rankings. Question 3, tell me about a time you had to make a very fast decision. And there's a 3-step process, as always seems to be, that 3 steps is the perfect way to do it. Is start by describing what you had to do. So you're going to be using, the STAR technique: situation, task, action, result. So you're giving a basic description of what the situation was. Then you've got to justify, why did you have to make it in a very fast decision? And then the most important thing is to have a positive impact. You don't want to talk about a time you made the wrong decision very fast and talk very negatively about how it wasn't your fault and you were forced into it or anything like that. That's going to be the sort of keywords that are going to score you lower. And so really what this question is testing is decisiveness. And when you're answering this, if you're indecisive in your answer and you're umming and ahhing, that doesn't really show the values and the skills that they are looking for. You need to be able to show that you've got stress management, that you're able to make rational decisions, and that you can work under pressure, and you're not intimidated by having to make a fast decision. So if you get those key ideas in and use my structure, you're going to be successful on this question. Question 4, what would you do if someone in your team was not pulling their weight? And we mentioned this one earlier in the deconstruction. And there's some things that are likely to score positively, and then there are some things that are going to lower your score. So they want to hear about success. Nobody wants to hire someone that the second they have conflict in a team, the whole project disintegrates and is a failure. They are interested in people that are successful. They're interested in people that have high expectations, that success is, what they expect, that they're proactive, that yes, we had an issue with someone, but we were able to overcome that. We solved the problem, we put in support, and we were constructive in doing that. And you can also talk about, that you've got some sensitivity to other people, and that you're going to be proactive and you offer your support and that you help people out, because they're the sort of behaviors and values that the company that's employing you likely have. Most companies have in their value statement something about collaboration. So you can use the word collaboration in that, and that's going to be picked up on. Negative answers have some sort of arrogance. So anything that is attacking the person and portraying yourself as better than them. A lack of judgment, not aligned with the firm's values. So if their value is collaboration and you're not demonstrating collaboration, that's a problem. And it's not solutions focused. So you're going to be spending most of the time on this question talking about what you did and how you solved it, rather than spending ages and ages talking about the problem and all of these negative keywords that you would otherwise be using. So if you use the positives and avoid the negatives, you're likely to score highly on this question. Question 5, how would weather affect financial markets? And this is an example of a very common logic type question. And there is a procedure to answer these. So here's a bad example, right? One example would be that exceptionally dry weather in the US would negatively affect domestically focused agricultural stocks due to reduced yields. It looks like a good answer, but this is what I would call a bad answer. It is simplistic, like one thing goes up, the other thing goes down. It's not very impressive. So my top tip is to use second level thinking that comes from Howard Marks, the co-founder of Oak Tree Capital Management. And so second level thinking is a much higher level of thinking. It's saying if this, then this, however, because, in spite of, all these more complicated ways of thinking. So I'm going to show you how you can transform that simplistic answer into something much more impressive. The relationship between markets and weather is complex. So you're showing that it's a complex aspect. For example, the movement of agricultural stocks due to the weather is a result of the difference between the consensus expectations and weather reality. So it may behave in very strange ways. The stocks could go up because it was expected that things were going to be far worse than they actually were. Or they could go even lower because the weather turned out to be way worse than anyone had anticipated. So it could actually go either direction. And then you could talk about some higher level things like hedging and then more complexity. So as a general procedure, you're going for second level thinking. They do not want simplistic answers. So you want to always structure these sort of answers around this is what would happen under these circumstances. However, under these different circumstances, this is how things could be slightly different. So you're always demonstrating second level thinking because detailed, well thought out answers that consider numerous possibilities always score higher than simplistic one sentence answers that overly simplify the world. So to finish off with, I've given you a simple list of some do's and don'ts that you can read through in your own time. And if you follow these do's and avoid the don'ts, you're going to score higher on your HireVue interview. So best of luck with your HireVue interview. I hope you score highly in the scoring and are called to a more formal interview. And finally, thank you very much for watching.